It might be gloomy in Pittsburgh, but it's a sunny day if you're a Jets fan because of that guy right there. Number 2, Zach Wilson, expected to make his season debut after a right knee injury caused him to miss the first 3 weeks of the regular season. There you have it, the scene from Pittsburgh. Jets Steelers just 2 hours away from kickoff in Week 4 as the Jets hit the road for the second time in 2022. Welcome into Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. I'm Ethan Greenberg. That's Quincy Enunwa. Anthony Beck going to join us shortly. We'll hear from Caroline Hendershot and Eric Allen. Boots on the ground in Pittsburgh. But before we get going here, it's a good day to be a Jets fan. We're going to break it all down. You ready to roll, Quincy?
You already know I'm ready every week.
All right, Anthony Beck, let's bring him on. Anthony Beck from Florida, are you ready?
Can't wait, guys. Great to see the young quarterback back on the road, and a great opportunity for this Jets football team.
All right, so let's get started first with our fans all in or not today. Zach Wilson will throw for at least 2 touchdowns against the Steelers. Make sure to get your votes in because we're going to go over it at the end of the show. But let's get out of the tunnel first, okay? This is a big day because of that guy right there, Zach Wilson, making his regular season debut after he was medically cleared earlier this week. Quincy, what do you expect from him today?
Yeah, I expect a lot of different things this week. I think the biggest thing is a lot more movement. I think that we haven't really had that opportunity to see the quarterback get out of the pocket, do a lot of different play action passes. So I think they're going to try to get him out of there, especially with a lot of the scrambling around on the offensive line. You know, there's so much moving around. So I think it's just going to be a good opportunity to move him out of the pocket.
You take a look at his numbers last season. That's 13 games with the Jets. He really improved in his final 7 games coming back from another injury. Anthony, so Zach Wilson's been practicing for about 2 weeks now. But how much of a factor is rust? And do you think that you can shake that off quickly in a game, or is that something that's going to take time?
It's a huge factor. There's no question. I'm not expecting him to come out here and be lights out today. I think what you can do as a coordinator is you increase the ability to run the football. This is a game where obviously the tempo could be dictated by the other team. You know, the Steelers are not playing well offensively. They're probably thinking in their mind they're going to try to set the run and set the tone up front like they try to do every week. And you can do that as well on your side with Zach Wilson. And then getting him in some certain situations where they're favorable to him, you know, easy completions, check down opportunities, you know, not letting him, you know, really put too much on too many progressions in this game and get the ball out of his hands quickly. It's all about rhythm, guys. You want to just get him feeling comfortable. If he feels comfortable, and as you go on in the game and he has some success, then you can maybe amp up some of the plays and some of the options. But, you know, listen, this is all about acclimating him back the quickest way, and I think those are 2 ways to do it.
Quincy, we were watching Vikings Saints a little earlier. They're playing in London, so that game's going on right now. We were looking at Kirk Cousins just kind of rolling out. Do you think that that's been missing in the playbook just because of the personnel with Joe Flacco being 37 years old and, of course, Zach Wilson being 23 years old? Maybe we'll see some more of that today.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be a big part of the game plan. I think I've been saying it since the beginning is that they need to start running the ball more. So I think this is an opportunity to run the ball and then play off of that. You know, give him an opportunity to get out of the pocket, get the ball to those receivers, get the ball to the tight ends. The tight ends love play action pass game, so it's a great opportunity to just kind of get everybody kind of comfortable in this game.
You know, Anthony, with Zach Wilson, seeing what he did last year and then knowing that he had to miss, you know, about a month plus with the right knee surgery and then missing the first 3 games. I know you were talking about rust being a factor here, but just how much of a jump do you think that we can see from Wilson? Maybe not necessarily today, but let's say in a couple games.
Yeah, I think that, you know, you talk about recall and getting back into the flow of it. You know, listen, you know, Zach has to get more snaps under his belt. It's unfortunate, obviously, last year having a few games that he missed with injury, and it's unfortunate now. You know, he put all this work into the offseason, got his body strong, worked on everything, improved himself with the playbook, and then all of a sudden after the first preseason game, you're down and out. So, you know, to miss the first couple games of the season, that's a big deal. I mean, there's no question about it. So, I would like to see him, you know, grow every single week. I think that's something you should expect from the young quarterback. They should be able to build on that every single time, get some guys back from get healthy at least up front. But I think they have enough right now to get the job done and at least to have him be able to be successful in this game against the Steelers moving forward.
You know, Quincy, when the schedule came out, you obviously saw the AFC North the first 4 weeks. This is the 4th game. Knowing that, one, that division is tough. Two, that you've been playing the first 3 games with that guy behind Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, your backup quarterback, the Jets have a chance to be 2-2. I feel like if you saw the situation, a lot of fans would sign up to be 500 after 4 games, 3 of which came with your backup quarterback. Would you have signed up for that? And also, the extra rest that Pittsburgh is coming off, how much does that play a factor into today's game?
Yeah, well, to answer the first question, I think I definitely would have signed up to be 500. I think when you think about how the season started and what you were looking at, to go into a division and play them and at least come out 2-2, that's important. That's big. I think it's a big confidence booster going into the divisional games, right? So you get out of this division, you go into your own division, and now you have a little bit of a confidence booster. Then in terms of your second part, which was I forgot your question on that part, but I think just in general, right? I think it's just important to just be happy about getting out of here 500, knowing that you did a lot to get to where you are now.
Hey, Anthony, let me ask you this. This is obviously a different Steelers team without Ben Roethlisberger. Just what have you seen from them through the first 3 weeks of the season?
I think there's been a lot of talk on how bad Mitch Trubisky has been leading this offense. I go back and watch the last game. I don't see a terrible playing quarterback. I mean, this is a team right now that lost their best defender on defense. They're trying to control the football game. They like to win ugly. That's kind of been their MO. I think that the running game for them has been not as strong as it has in the past. Najee Harris has not been off to a great start. So that's why I kind of pinpoint it. You look at the season where they are, this is probably a game where they feel like they need to amp it up. The weather is down. Look for them to try to set the run game up and roll in that play action. The one positive that's dangerous with a quarterback like Mitchell Trubisky is his throwing outside the pocket. And he's been one of the more productive quarterbacks, I believe, second to Justin Herbert early on in the season.
Awesome, Anthony. Thank you very much. For more on today's matchup, let's head to Pittsburgh for our game day storylines presented by Bud Light. Caroline, EA, good morning.
Good morning, Ethan. I know this isn't the greatest weather for a football game. However, last night it was the talk of the town, the field condition, because Georgia Tech and Pitt played on this field last night. It was raining throughout the entirety of the game. But EA and I checked out the field this morning. Not too bad. It's not as soggy as you would think, but there's a lot of divots and some patches of just dirt. So we'll just have to see how this plays out throughout the entirety of the game. But we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the lead storyline going into today. Zach Wilson's back and he's playing. What do you think, EA?
Yeah, the guys talked about it here in the opening segment. Zach Wilson said during the week that he's going to play his game. So if he's flushed out of the pocket, he's going to take it. He's going to look to extend plays. If it's not there in the pocket, he's going to play within the structure of the offense. Last year, after coming back from injury, so impressive because he protected the football, 9 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. The Jets so far this season, though, the number that stands out to me, they've held a lead for just 22 seconds. So that pass-run ratio has been out of whack for the Jets offense. In fact, Joe Flacco set an NFL record with 155 pass attempts in the first 3 weeks of the season. The entire dynamic will change for the Jets if they can get a lead today against a Pittsburgh Steelers offense that, frankly, has been scuffling here in the post-Ben Roethlisberger era.
Caroline, you know what? Listening to Mike LaFleur talk on Thursday, he said the elephant in the room is that he wants to run the ball more with Michael Carter and Breece Hall. You spoke to Breece Hall earlier this week. What did he have to say about today's matchup?
I did, Ethan. He actually said that last game against the Cincinnati Bengals, he felt like he was just starting to hit his stride. He had a couple drops, which he wasn't a big fan of. He dropped one, he said that he thought it would have even been a touchdown. And so he and Joe Flacco weren't really connecting in the way that he would have liked. But he's just starting to hit his stride now, and he's saying that the more usage that he and Michael Carter can get, the better. They're actually tied for the most receptions by a running back duo in the NFL right now with 26. And Breece Hall, only rookie in the NFL to have over 100 rushing and receiving yards. So he's a big factor if they can get him going today.
Yeah, Hall, in fact, leads the Jets in yards from scrimmage with 213 entering this game. The other thing to consider when we look at the weapons around Zach Wilson, the Jets are the only team in the National Football League with 6 pass catchers with at least 10 receptions. Watch both of these backs today, and I wonder if Anthony Becht and Quincy Enunwa would like a game like this, because I'm thinking the Jets are going to go heavy. A lot of multi-tight end packages to help their young quarterback as he returns to the lineup.
Awesome. Thank you both very much. We'll talk to you a little later in the show. This is Pregame Central presented by Bud Light. Ethan Greenberg, Quincy Enunwa here in studio, joined by Anthony Becht. As always, that was Caroline Hendershot and Eric Allen. You got to vote for All In or Not today, the last segment on the show, one of our favorite segments. But let's talk about this Jets offensive line, Quincy, because they mentioned Carolina and EA, the Jets running game, how they want to establish the run like LaFleur does. Well, George Fant no longer on the team. He's on injured reserve, so obviously he's still on the team. He's just not on the active roster. So more shuffling up front. Connor McDermott, he pitched in last week, played left tackle for the Jets. How much of a challenge is it, again, that this offensive line for Zach Wilson in his first start not at full strength?
Yeah, it's going to be a big challenge, and I think AB could probably speak to this as well. But it's going to be a challenge across the board, not just for Zach, but also for the tight ends that are standing next to those guys, the receivers. I think the running backs, right? It's just important for everybody to make sure that they're communicating well. Like, that's going to be the biggest thing I think is going to be in this game is communication, right? You got a new quarterback. You got to make sure he's enunciating things well, because these guys haven't played with him for a while. So it's going to be really important to make sure that everybody understands what's going on, hears the play, knows exactly what they need to do, and that way that they can have just a little bit more production, positive production this week.
Right there, Connor McGovern with the mustache. Also in the foreground of the shot, that's Max Mitchell. He started each of the 4 games, or each of the 3, now 4 games for the New York Jets. That's a rookie 4th-round pick out of Louisiana. Anthony, just your take on the situation in terms of Zach Wilson coming back and having more shuffling up front. All right, Anthony Becht no longer with us, but he'll be joined shortly. So I'll ask you another question. Right. Max Mitchell. Robert Sala said that Mitchell has been ascending at a rapid pace. At least he thought, because this was a guy, 4th-round pick. You usually don't see a lot of 4th-round pick rookie tackles just start from day one. Right. He's been put in a tough position. He's starting for the Jets at right tackle. He's taken the most rookie snaps among tackles. What have you thought about the job that Mitchell has done?
I think he's done a great job. I think ultimately, when you think about a 4th-round draft pick, especially an offensive tackle, you don't expect them to come in and do well. You don't expect them to do a lot. You really, a lot of times, don't even expect them to play immediately. So for him to come in, to do the job that he's done, to perform the way that he has, it's admirable, right? I think I want to continue to see more. I think this is only going to do amazing wonders for him, because he's going to get that confidence. The biggest thing about football is that you can never really know how well you're going to do until you go out there and the bullets are flying, everything is going past your head. So I think just to see him being able to kind of put it all together on the field is encouraging.
Come out to MetLife Stadium on Sunday, October 9th, to see the Jets host the Dolphins, presented by Atlantic Health System. Lock in your seats at nyjets.com/tickets. That's next week. Moving on to our Sunday Spotlight. Anthony Becht back with us. He's going to kick this off. Where are you going with your Sunday Spotlight, AB?
Yeah, I mean, I got to add in the offensive line. I mean, that's going to be huge in this game. You talked about some of the wrinkles and movements there with Fant obviously not being able to play. Whether that's McDermott playing tackle, whether they shift some guys, move them around, whatever that may be to protect the quarterback is going to be premium in this football game. But I think it's also an attitude and a mentality coming out to start the game. I'm always big proponent on this, starting fast, coming off, rolling your knuckles off and letting these guys come off the football. I think running the football allows you to be aggressive early. They got some very good defensive linemen outside of, not having TJ Watt. So blocking guys like Hayward and Ogunjobi, these are players that you're going to have to sustain at the line of scrimmage. And if you do that in the run game, you can be successful, and that'll take and ease the pain a little bit in pass protection as well.
And of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers have the NFL's leading sacker in Alex Highsmith, and that's ironic because TJ Watt obviously tied an NFL record, 22.5 sacks last season. He's no longer playing. He's on injured reserve. Of course, then Alex Highsmith, 4.5, 3 of those did come in one game, to be noted. I know Quincy wanted to say that. I stole his thunder a little bit there. So, Quincy, where are you going with your spotlight?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the defensive pressure. I spoke a little bit about it last week. The defense has to make sure they get into the quarterback, and they did that, right? They put a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow, but now this week they need to get the sacks, right? They're going against a quarterback this week that's doesn't have the same ability as Joe Burrow. So if they get the pressure on him, they may be able to disrupt him a little bit more. But I think it's important to just bring him down. I think Quentin Williams spoke about it. Carl Lawson spoke about it, how they kept getting to the quarterback, but they just weren't able to finish the play. And that's the biggest thing, is that finishing these plays. Ultimately, it's a bigger theme. Let's finish these plays.
Going off of that, Quincy, Anthony, this is a question for you. Mitch Trubisky has some mobility to him. Actually, he's attempted 23.3% of his passes on the run in 2022 per Next Gen Stats. That's the second highest in the NFL. So how important is it not only to get after Trubisky, but really to contain him so he doesn't break out of the pocket?
Yeah, a lot of those passes obviously come off play action, nakeds, fakes to the outside when you're play actioning a run and then rolling out to the left or the right. But you're right, when he is in the pocket and you are pass rushing him, it does have to be kind of a team effort from all four guys to really press him in. You want him to step up into the pocket and try to break that way through the line of scrimmage if he goes anywhere. But when he goes outside, that's the problem. So you talk about the edge guys, talk about Lawson's ability and Johnson, whoever that may be on the outside, Martin. These guys have to be smart about not just coming running up the field and trying to just go any way they want to have. You can't have a two-way go if you're a defensive edge guy in this football game. So you have to be strategic there. So the guys in the middle, Williams and Rankin, so these players, JFM, these guys can really do hay here if they can press the pocket. And then when those defensive ends are waiting and they do get flushed, now they can get off, pan off to the left or the right and be in position to make those plays, potentially make those sacks and prevent those off-schedule throws outside of the play action and naked plays that they have in their offense as well.
And that guy right there, Quentin Williams with the headphones on, Nate Shepard, the whole defensive line, accounted for 2 sacks last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. Quentin Williams had one, Sheldon Rankins had the other. For my Sunday Spotlight, I'm going with the third down defense because Robert Sala has harped on it all week. The Jets rank 31st in third down defense. The Steelers have the highest 3-and-out rate in the NFL at 31.4%. Quincy, how do you go about fixing third down issues and trying to get that number a little better?
Yeah, I think ultimately it just comes back down to getting those pressures right. I think that'll make the job easier on the defensive backfield. I think they really need to make sure that they're fixing the communication back there as well, right? There's been too many weeks now where they've had miscommunications that have led to touchdowns. So it's important for those guys to get their communication well, but also for the defensive line to make sure they're getting to the quarterback. It'll just ease up everything else, and third downs will be so much easier to handle.
All right, before we continue to break down this Jets-Steelers matchup just under 2 hours away, I want to give you an exclusive clip from Jets Game Day with Robert Sala.
Football is a violent game, it's an emotional game. You got a young group. You got to remind the guys, hey, listen, I want you guys to play fast. I want you to play physical, and I want you to get after it in terms of talking. But at the same time, we got to keep our heads.
Yeah, no, you do. Feel good about where we are with regards to we're not an undisciplined team. There's not a lot of penalties being rung up on us, but at the same time, when we do have a penalty, it's kind of been backbreaking for us. I know those guys. I know how they play. They're not going out there trying to make mistakes, but at the same time, you do have to be smart in the most heightened environment, and do what's right for the team. And the penalties, the two of the penalties we had on Sunday. Obviously not the best, but something that I know our guys can correct quickly.
And, of course, that was Jets Game Day with Robert Sala. You want to see the full thing, check out NewYorkJets.com. We're in the second half here of Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. Ethan Greenberg, Quincy Enunwa, Anthony Beck joining us for the Scramble drill. Again, Jets-Steelers Week 4 in Pittsburgh, just under 2 hours away. I feel like I'm going to put some blame on me. I came out a little flat today. It's the second half. We're turning it around. Anthony Beck, Quincy Enunwa, the Scramble drill. 2 minutes on the clock. Anthony, we're starting with you. Who is an X factor for the New York Jets today?
I think the X factor would be, McDermott or whoever is playing that position at the offensive line. I think that's going to be big. You have to have trust at the left tackle. It's the backside of the quarterback's back. That would be important, the left tackle player.
All right, minute 42 left on the clock. Quincy Enunwa, who is the most underrated or underappreciated player on the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Ooh, underrated or underappreciated? I would have to say that might be Trubisky. I think that it's really important for him to get going. If he gets going, then the whole offense, really gets going.
I thought you were going to say Deontay Johnson. But anyway, Anthony Beck, complete this sentence. For the Jets to win, Zach Wilson needs to blank.
Protect the football, no turnovers.
All right, that was easy. Quincy Enunwa, which area of the game do the Jets have the biggest advantage in today?
The defensive backfield. They got two great corners. They got safeties that have been making mistakes, but I think they're definitely better than the opposite side, other than Minka Fitzpatrick, obviously.
All right, 55 seconds. Anthony Beck. The Steelers have their bye in Week 9. Will they hand the keys to Kenny Pickett before that?
Probably yes. I think so. I don't think it's going to happen in this game, or Mitchell Trubisky hasn't been terrible, but there could be a change midseason. I can see that.
Of course, Kenny Pickett, the hometown kid, played at Pitt, first-round pick. Quincy Enunwa. The Jets have taken the ball away in all 3 games. Will they make it 4 for 4?
Oh, definitely. If you get pressure on Mitchell Trubisky, I think it's a good chance that you'll be able to get the ball.
All right, Anthony Beck, 20 seconds. Michael Carter will or will not have his first touchdown of the season today.
Yeah, I think there's a great chance. If they're going to run the ball effectively, whether he's in or not, I think him or Brees have a great chance. I would say yes.
Anthony Beck, again, Renegade, the best NFL tradition?
It's up there, top 5.
Okay, top 5. That's all we have on the Scramble drill, but I'm going to give a bonus question for Quincy Enunwa. Going off of Renegade, if you got to choose a song, right? You were in charge of a team, a stadium, maybe, kind of like Anthony Beck. He's starting something new in St. Louis and around the corner. If you could choose a song to be played for the St. Louis Battlehawks, what would it be?
Oh, man, that's a tough one, man. I don't know.
Hell's Bells, man. You got to come out with Hell's Bells.
There we go.
That's a good one.
He gave it to us.
Okay, all right. That is not, by the way, insider trading, because I don't think Anthony even thought of that. But I do like the idea of Hell's Bells playing. All right, so if you're the biggest Jets fan, the Fan of the Year contest presented by Captain Morgan is back, and we're searching for one extraordinary Jets fan. Nominate yourself or others for the chance to be crowned the Jets Fan of the Year and win a trip to Super Bowl 57 in Glendale, Arizona. To nominate yourself, someone else, or learn more, visit nyjets.com/Fan of the Year. Okay, it is 11:22 here on Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. Taking a look at the standings for All In or Not today. Momentarily, we're back. Anthony Beck, Quincy, myself, Caroline, EA. This is what we got. Anthony, myself, and Quincy, 2-1.
Oh,
Caroline, 1-2. EA and the fans still searching for their first win. So we're going to start, as always. Oh, look, EA's down. I can see it. What do you want to say? I know you want to say something before we get going here.
I say I still reside in good company with
Yes.
Jets Nation. We're both 0-3 on the season, and I've seen people collapse before in this segment. I anticipate that to happen again in 2022. I am not happy where I stand, but I aim to get better. 14 weeks remain.
Okay.
If anyone watching can't tell, we take this segment way too seriously.
Yeah, it's serious. We got a competitive bunch. We got 2 former players,
We do.
Caroline, EA, and myself, competitive. We're going to get after it. So we're going to start with EA. It's only right. The Jets, EA, will have a lead at halftime. All in or not today?
I'm going all in again. I really am, because we talked about it before. 22 seconds the Jets have had the lead for so far this season. You're playing a Pittsburgh Steelers team that is scuffling offensively. And then on the other side of the ball, without Watt in the lineup, they're just 24th overall. And we talked about the run game, too. The Steelers are giving up more than 142 yards per game on the ground. I look for Michael Carter and Breece Hall to really get involved early, get some traction on the ground. And I do think the Jets are going to have a lead at halftime.
I love it. I love the energy from Pittsburgh. Caroline, we're staying with you, and we're taking a look at Elijah Moore, which is on cue. Elijah Moore will score a touchdown in today's matchup. All in or not today?
I am all in, of course. I'm all in. The thinking behind my all in, though, is that Zach and Elijah had a really good connection last year, and with Zach playing again today, I think it's only a matter of time. I know people have been freaking out that he hasn't gotten the ball enough, but I promise I think that this is his game, and I think he's going to get his first touchdown.
from your lips to God's ears and Jets fans smiling across the country, thank you very much, EA and Caroline. EA, we'll talk to you about the inactives in a bit. Anthony Becht, Tyler Conklin will score a touchdown today, all in or not today?
Well, first, EA is not a analytics guy, because if you ran percentages on 22 seconds of actually being in the lead over 3 games, that's probably not the best percentage to roll with, but I like his thinking. I'm going to be all in on this one. Hey, if we're going to run the ball today and we're going to get the ball to the running backs, guess what may be open on some play action? The tight ends. Let's find a way to move around in the pocket. Let's get the ball out to Tyler Conklin. We get in the red zone. These guys are athletic. They're bigger. They're mismatches. I'm all in.
I really like where this is going, by the way, between Anthony and Caroline, because she has Elijah Moore. Anthony has Tyler Conklin. I really want one to win and one to lose, because I think it makes for good competition. What do you think about that, Quincy?
I agree. I don't really care about theirs. I don't really care about mine.
Okay, well, if you care about yours, here we go. Quincy Enunwa, the Jets will have more sacks than the Pittsburgh Steelers. All in or not today?
So I'm all in. I know that they have the sack
Everybody's all
leader.
in.
I know they have the sack leader and all those different things, but I have confidence that Zach's going to be able to move out of the pocket, escape some sacks, and I think the D-line is hungry. It's been a while since they've really gotten back there and really done some damage, so this will be the game that they do. It's a challenge for them.
It is a challenge. So this is where we're going to go for mine. The Jets will hold Mitchell Trubisky to under 200 passing yards. And I'm not just saying this to be the odd guy out. I'm going not today. And here's the thing. The Jets, when you take a look at the passing yards that they've allowed, that's an average of 239 passing yards per game. Mitch Trubisky has only eclipsed the 200-yard mark passing-wise once this season in 3 games. But I'm going to go not today. It might be 201 yards, but I'm going to go not today. I think he hits 200. So now let's go to the fans here. We talked about it in the beginning of the show. We're going to circle back to it. The fans are all in on Zach Wilson will throw for at least 2 touchdowns against the Steelers. 77.7% have voted all in, and 22.3% are not today.
Wow.
What do you think about that, Anthony Becht?
It's a passing league, man. Like, let's get the kid in the groove. If there's an opportunity to make some plays in the red zone, or we have some extraordinary talented receivers and tight ends and backs out of the backfield, of course. Yeah, I would lean on the high side of that as well.
Quincy, are you in agreement there?
Definitely. I think this is the game that, he really shows people, like, okay, I'm back.
All right, 3 minutes before we get the inactives, which means that we have 3 minutes left on the air. Quincy, we haven't really talked a whole lot about the safeties, about the communication issues that a lot of the players and coaches have talked about. When you take a look at the Steelers receiving corps, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, George Pickens had a ridiculous catch last week on Thursday Night Football. What type of challenge do they present specifically, and what do you expect out of this Jets secondary that has very good corners and very good corner play, just a couple breakdowns here and there?
Well, out of the receiving corps, I think they have a really talented group. It's just about the quarterback getting them the ball, and that hasn't been the case so far, right? They haven't really exceeded 200 to 300 yards really consistently. Mitchell Trubisky hasn't really been able to really give those guys the ball and show exactly what they're able to do. On top of that, Deontay Johnson, he's been notorious for dropping the ball, and he has still done that this year. So I think if you think about the Jets' defensive backs, they definitely are going to have a challenge, but I think they're going to be able to come out on top. As long as they stay consistent, the safeties just have to be great at communicating, but I think it's going to be a great game for the backfield.
Anthony Becht, just what do you expect out of the guy we're looking at right now, Garrett Wilson? And what do you make out of the distribution between Wilson and Moore? I feel like a lot of people, including Caroline in her all in or not today, are waiting for the Elijah Moore game. Do you think that can happen today?
I think Garrett Wilson's obviously, his ability to get the ball within the framework of the offense is a lot higher, because he is the best route runner, the smoothest guy as far as within the play and the scheme that I think they're running. Elijah Moore, to me, is very good at the same qualities, but you can also dictate on how you can get him the ball through quicker things and different abilities to work him in the slot movement. You can game plan him a little bit better. So when you're talking about getting him the ball more outside of just targeting him in the framework of the play, I think there needs to be a little section on my play card today that says, okay, these are the plays I know I can get Elijah Moore the football. Let's get 10 of these. Let's find out how at least half of those get called in the game today.
And we have about 30 seconds or less before we head back out to Pittsburgh when EA tells us the inactives. Quincy, we haven't talked about Najee Harris at all. Najee Harris last year, 4th in the NFL in rushing yards, not off to the same start. Right. What do you attribute that to? Do you attribute that to game planning, having a different quarterback, the offensive line, or something else?
That's a good question. It's hard to tell. You know, when you watch the film, it seems like they're just not able to really hit those big plays in the pass game or in the running game. So I'm curious to see what they do this game, right? Like, they saw that the Browns had some success running the ball against the Jets, so maybe they try to kind of copy those type of schemes. We'll see what happens this week.
And, of course, the Steelers coming off an extended rest, so we'll see what kind of wrinkles, if any, there are in terms of both of their game plans. But right now, speaking about the offensive game plan, but it's 11:30. Let's head back out to Pittsburgh. EA, the inactives are who?
All right, Greens, here we go. Mike White, Lawrence Cager, Denzel Mims, Cedric Ogbuye, recent addition, offensive lineman, Bryce Hall, Will Parks, and Quincy Williams, of course. Let me tell you something here as you guys close, Greens. Green and white faithful out in full force today in Pittsburgh. It's a lively bunch. You're going to see a lot of green and white in the stands here, but it's an amazing environment in Pittsburgh.
I love it. Thank you so much, EA. Thank you, Caroline. One more question here for Quincy Enunwa as we wrap up. What do you think about the white tops and the black pants?
Well, I think it's a little swaggy. I think it's a good mix-up, match-up. I'm excited to see it all kind of come together once they put the helmets on.
Taking a look at Greg Zuerlein in the background there. That's all we have on Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. For Caroline Hendershot, Eric Allen, Anthony Beck, and Quincy Enunwa, I'm Ethan Greenberg, and we will see you for Jets Overtime.